Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's session. All right, I'll give everyone a second to connect to audio. Today's session is being recorded, so at least for the first part of this presentation, we do ask that you keep your microphones muted for our presenter to get through all this lovely information for you and then answer your questions at the end. All right. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samantha Pardo. I am the Assistant Director of Graduate Career Services at the Marks School of Public and International Affairs at CUNY Baruch College. Today's session is open to not only the Marks School, but to the other grad programs at Baruch College, along with several of our CUNY partners. So if you could in the chat, just put in what school you're joining us from, what master's program you're joining us from. It'd be lovely for us to know. I'm joined here with my colleague, Suzanne Grossman, and we're very excited to have this session today to kick off the spring semester. So I'm going to pass it. So today's session is for Rockefeller Foundation Summer 2025 Associates Program. These are graduate level internships at the Rockefeller Foundation. We're always excited to have people interested in applying at the multiple opportunities there. And so without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Amy Harwood. Amy, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Samantha. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. I'm excited to see so many people interested in learning more about the Rockefeller Foundation. Just briefly about me, I'm a human resources manager at the foundation. I've been with them since 2018, and my primary role is managing our internship program. I developed the program in 2019, and it's been growing ever since. So it's kind of a beloved program at the foundation. So we're very excited about each cohort that we get to meet. So we're just starting our recruitment for the 2025 program. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the program, but before that, I'll do a brief overview of the foundation. All of our information is certainly on our website, and our social media channels are full of kind of up to the minute news about work that we're doing. So if you're curious, you can certainly look into the information further. But I do like to do kind of just a brief overview to sort of talk about kind of the role of a foundation in the world of in the world of nonprofit and philanthropy. But we're the Rockefeller Foundation is over 100 years old. And we are really passionate about kind of uplifting vulnerable populations across the world. Our goal is to make opportunity universal and sustainable. As I said, our work is global across the world, and it cuts through kind of many kind of functional areas. We work on health, food, clean energy, U.S. economic opportunity. And then we have an area of the foundation called innovation, which is kind of focused on like technology for good, basically, for public good, technology, artificial intelligence, data science, and how that can be used, all of that can be harnessed for public good. And then we have an area called innovative finance, which is basically working towards driving private capital for public good. And certainly throughout the foundation, we also have a very large population of folks that are focused on communications and operations that help drive all of our work forward. So that's kind of a broad overview of the foundation and the areas that we focus on. I should also mention that all of our work currently is, we're looked at sort of through a lens of climate action and what we can do to help mitigate climate change and help with all of the phenomenon that's happening throughout the world that is because of climate change. So we're looking at it impacts health, it impacts food, it impacts kind of all of the work that we do. So we're looking at everything through that lens to try to have some positive impact in that area as well. And as a philanthropy, we're not boots on the ground working directly with communities. What we're doing, we're the organization that's making financial investments, making grants to those organizations that are boots on the ground. So we're a little bit farther removed, but we do keep in close contact with our grantees. We make sure that, our goals are, being channeled through them, and we're, our overall mission is being carried out through those organizations that we're making grants to. We also are working diligently to make strategic partnerships, alliances with, governments, other private organizations, other foundations all across the world to try to, be able to provide this impact at scale. The more people, the more partners that we have, the more impact we can have in all of these areas. So we work very diligently on strategic partnerships and alliances throughout the world. And we kind of carry out all of our work with this big bet mentality. If you followed the foundation and you know anything about our president, Raj Shah, big bets is a term that he has used to kind of define our work, but he also wrote a book called Big Bets. And it's basically kind of the mentality of large scale problem solving. The problems throughout the world are huge. And, we try to, use this mentality, this big bet mentality with our partners, with our alliances to try to make impact and inroads to help, solve these problems. So our summer associate program is, as I said, it's been growing since 2019. We now generally each summer have about 20 to 25 graduate students with us. At our, most of them are at our headquarter location in New York City. We do also, the program is a global program, so there usually are some interns in our, we have a small office in Kenya and in Thailand. So we also have kind of a global aspect to the program, but the largest part of the cohort, the 20-25 students are in New York, and then there's usually a couple of other people across the globe. But it's you have the opportunity to work with global colleagues. The program is really designed to be learning and developmental. We're really looking to kind of build help you build your knowledge of what a philanthropy does, what a foundation does, and really build philanthropic leaders of the future. We are, certainly committed to, a great learning experience. Our graduate students come in and really take on very meaningful projects. The work, as I defined it, there's no end to trying to solve these problems. So we each summer are very excited to have our graduate students come in and kind of bring a fresh perspective to the work that we're doing. It's hard work. It takes a lot of diversity and experience, diversity and perspective, diversity of backgrounds to really, come up with solutions, but also it takes a lot of hope and optimism. It's hard work. It can sometimes seem, daunting. So it's wonderful every June to have, kind of 25 graduate students come in who are optimistic and excited about learning about what we're doing and can kind of infuse our culture with that optimism and fresh perspective on everything that we're doing. You take on, real projects from the teams. They're not contrived intern projects. You become part of the team. You are, acclimated to the team, I would say, like a regular full-time hire, even though this is it's a short term. It's usually about 11 weeks from the beginning of June through the middle of August, and it's full-time during that time period. But you really take on very meaningful work projects and drive work forward and really can have a positive impact on that team and the work that they're doing. While you're doing that work, you're also exposed to the other areas of the foundation. We have a robust learning program set up for our summer associates. So if you're focused, for example, if your role is on our health team, obviously you will be, exposed in great detail to the work that they're doing, but we want you to walk away with a broad understanding of all of the work throughout the foundation. So we have a learning program set up where each team will present their scope of work to our summer associates. So you'll hear from the food team, and you'll hear from the power team, and you'll hear what the innovative finance team is doing. So you can really be exposed to all of that. Though they're, informal learning sessions where you can ask a lot of questions. You can connect with your colleagues in those areas that are presenting that material. You can ask further questions. I really feel like the students that get the most out of this opportunity are actively engaging, in all of those sessions, but also, if you have a particular interest in an area, you're kind of pursuing that. You're talking to people that do that work. I always encourage our summer associates when they come on board to kind of have those kind of open conversations with their manager as well. Certainly there's a scope of work that you're hired to do, but part of this program is also understanding what your goals are and understanding where your areas of interest are, and have those conversations with your manager. And if you have an area of interest that maybe is not something that you're focused on day to day with your team's projects, you can potentially be exposed to it in other ways, attend other meetings, attend other learning sessions. Our culture is a learning culture. So in addition to the things that we have set up throughout the summer, specifically for summer associates, which are those learning sessions, and then other, meet and greets with senior leaders, and there's other professional development sessions. There are a whole set of other sessions, learning sessions that are for all staff. We always have we've had, since climate has become part of our focus, we have continuous climate learning sessions. There's an endless amount of material to learn. We have people on staff that are experts, scientists, things like that, but there's always something more to learn. So we have various learning sessions on climate, hear from people throughout the globe on that. And other professional development seminars. We have monthly town halls where it's an opportunity for the foundation to come together, all staff come together, talk about, things that are currently happening. We celebrate our staff, we celebrate anniversaries, we celebrate new hires. If you're part of our summer associate program, the first town hall that we have after you start, you will have the opportunity to introduce yourselves and be celebrated as new staff at the foundation. Everybody's always, as I said, very excited about welcoming our summer associates. Our president hosts, I think, I can't remember now if they're monthly or every other week, actually, kind of these Ask Raj sessions where we have, very open communication throughout the staff. You can ask all kinds of questions on work that we're doing or our culture, things that are happening at the foundation. It's very kind of open, transparent, non-hierarchical culture, which is nice and provides a wonderful learning opportunity for our summer associates. Because, in addition to having kind of all of those resources, our staff is very open to, sharing knowledge with you, but also, if you want to have a coffee chat or a Zoom chat with somebody, you can set up that meeting, and they're very happy to, take the time to talk to you, talk about your work, talk about, your career goals, help you kind of as you're exploring your career path at this point in your life, and certainly share knowledge with you. So networking is also a huge part of this program, and I encourage all of our students to do that. It's really helpful. And again, I'll say, I said before, the students that do those things, go to the learning sessions, ask the questions, set up coffee chats, talk to different people, really get the most out of the program. And certainly connect with the cohort as well. You have, 20 some other students that are at, different programs, different schools across the country. You really make connections with people that, you never know who you might be working with in the future. And it's a wonderful opportunity to kind of, build up your network and make those connections and, make a lot of great friends as well. I will say a few things. Usually get like frequently asked questions about the program. So I'll kind of go through things that I think, may be on your minds, but then, I do want to open it up to questions. But I'm sure there's other things. As Samantha mentioned, most of our positions are for graduate students. We have 14 positions currently posted on our website. There will be 8 more going up. So I think we're looking for 22 this summer. That number may go up, but it'll not by much. Of those 22, we may consider undergraduates for 1 or 2 of those positions, but for the most part, you need to be a graduate student. Our culture is it's very fast paced. It's very, a lot of the teams are traveling a lot. There's certainly our managers and the teams are good at acclimating students to the team, to the foundation. But honestly, there's not a lot of hand-holding. So the graduate students who bring a little bit more professional maturity are a better fit for our culture, because sometimes there's always people available to ask questions, and we certainly do, we have a whole week of orientation and get you all up to speed and make sure that you have the resources that you need. But you are expected to take on a lot of work, and there's just not a lot of hand holding. You have to be able to kind of take on that work and drive it forward. So if you have that, have that a little bit of professional maturity, that's certainly helpful to our culture. So that's why we're really focused on graduate students. It's just a better fit for the work that we're doing in our culture. The other thing that I usually get questions about is, will we hire students that are on visas? We will. We won't sponsor for the internship, but we understand, as I understand it, you get that sponsorship from your school. And then the question always leads to, for full-time, if we do hire, international candidates for positions if it's the right person. But we don't provide sponsorship for the short-term internship. But you get that from your school. That's not a problem. Sometimes I know through the offer process, we need to provide additional documentation, different kinds of letters, or that's fine. No problem at all. So that's not an issue. Another question Samantha and I were talking about actually before you all joined is, how we do get a lot of applicants for this program. How do you make yourself stand out? So something that's really our mission and being a mission-driven organization, the work that we do is vitally important, and everybody that works there has a strong passion and connection to the mission. So one thing I would say is I do require cover letters, and we also ask that question as part of the application. Why do you want to work for the Rockefeller Foundation? Tell us why you're driven to want to work for a mission-driven organization. How does this work? How do you connect with this work personally? Why do you have a passion to want to work for us? That's one part of it. And the second part of it is, making a connection, whether it's something, a personal connection, or to, something that you've done academically or in your work history, connecting that to, the role. The other question is, can I apply to more than one role, or what should I do? Because there is overlap in some of our roles. So I understand, I don't want to see somebody applying to all, 20 roles. That doesn't make sense, because there's enough that distinguishes the roles that somebody shouldn't be doing that. That to me just says that you're not really paying attention to the intricacies of the role. But it's certainly reasonable to apply to, more than one, because there is overlap, especially in some of our program areas. So if you can make that connection and why you might be interested in a couple of the different roles, that makes perfect sense to me. And as a matter of fact, I often, when I interview students, will say, I'm talking to somebody for a role in program strategy, for example, and we see a lot of students in that role that have, consulting backgrounds. So their backgrounds are kind of broad. They've touched on a lot of different, work that may be applicable to things that we do. I may say, I think you're a better fit for, our health team, or I think you may be a better fit for our president's office, so I do that often when I speak with students. So there definitely is that overlap. So don't worry about applying to more than one. But again, be thoughtful about why you're applying to the different roles, because some do have very specific, needs, and qualifications that we're looking for. We do look at, a variety of different backgrounds, different majors, public policy, public administration, business, government, health, food, economics. In some of the roles, there's, in our innovation team where we're looking at, technology, artificial intelligence, data science, you could have more technical background that would fit for those roles. We have communications roles that are not yet posted. Those roles are, looking for people that are, we may hire somebody who's a master's of public administration, but we may hire somebody who's, has a more communication driven background. We've got roles in operations, HR. What am I forgetting? We have a role in our, we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion team. We have a position on that team open this year. So a lot, it spans a lot of different kinds of work and different backgrounds, different roles, different perspectives. There's no, I guess that's all to say, there's no like cookie cutter that we're looking for. There's lots of different work that you could have done, education that, backgrounds that you could have. We're kind of spanning the whole spectrum. What else can I tell you at this point? I might open it up. I've done a lot of talking. I've covered a lot of areas, but I'd love to hear kind of what I missed and what's on your mind at this point.
Thanks so much, Amy. So at this point, we'll open it up to Q&A. So please, you can use the raise hand function, and I'll make sure to get to all of you. If you're unable to, unmute at this time, feel free to throw it into the chat, and I will say it out loud for today's recording. While I wait for anyone to raise their hand or put it in the chat, I do want to expand on Amy's point about international students who are interested in the associates program for the internships. Yes, so CPT, the curricular practical training, is the sponsorship that you would get between from your current student visa in order to be able to complete an internship here at Rockefeller. So that's something you would work out with your school upon given an offer. And I encourage you all to coordinate with your own career services offices and your international student centers to make sure that you are going through that process while you are applying for this internship and really any other opportunities, so you have that information available. Okay, so Kara asked, are there any scheduling options for students who are working full time?
It's a full-time job, so that's difficult. We've certainly had students join our program that are doing something else part-time or taking classes. We've worked, we've adjusted scheduling to suit those needs. I don't know. I mean, it's pretty hard to do two full-time jobs. So I don't know that that would work, to be honest. I mean, ideally, we're looking for students that are, working with us Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Um, like I said, we've made adjustments in the past for, somebody to leave early a couple days a week for a class or for another commitment. But I don't know how working two full-time jobs honestly would work. I should also say that I know that you're all attending school in New York, so you may be local. Our full-time staff is mostly working a hybrid work schedule, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday in our office, Monday and Friday remote. Some of our teams are looking specifically for summer associates that can do that. But a lot of our positions also have the option to be remote. We want to make sure that our program is as inclusive as possible. And if students aren't located in New York, sometimes it's really cost prohibitive to move for, an 11-week program. So we do offer that with many of our positions. But I will say two things about that. You have to be located in the United States. You can't be out of the country. And then the second thing is this past summer, we had only 2 students that were remote. And that was fine. And we're doing everything that we can to make sure that they're engaged and part of the cohort and, included in everything that we do. And they are. But the 21 students that were in the office in New York really were, such a cohesive unit. I feel like they got a little bit more out of the experience being, in person in our office.
Thanks for clarifying that. And just quickly, because we're talking about work schedules, are the positions more like a 9 to 5? Like, are candidates expected to kind of have some flexibility around the work that they're doing? Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, it really is expected to be a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job. Um, they're, as I said, if a student is, taking a class or has some other commitment and maybe needs to leave early 1 or 2 days a week, something like that, that can be worked around. But the teams are looking for full-time help when the teams are working, which
Yeah,
is, in New York, it's going to be, 9 to 5 here,
yeah,
Monday through Friday.
absolutely, absolutely. Ramla asked a question, and I believe this is very specific to some degree programs, but are the summer associate positions eligible to be used as supervised field work? I believe that sounds like something would be like social work. Ramla, if you can kind of clarify what you mean by supervised field work, that would be very helpful.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
oh yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I am a health policy and management concentration student, and since there's an opportunity for health, and then supervised field work can be a part of it. So I was just wondering that will CUNY accept it as a field work or not?
I don't know the answer to that question. I mean, we've worked with students before with programs that have been used for credit or some sort of supervised work that they needed to have for their program. I don't know specifically what your program requirements are. I mean, we're happy to it's a very robust program. There's lots of learning opportunities. I mean, we're happy to work with you to figure that out, but I just don't know the specific requirements of your program.
Okay. Thank you.
But it seems like it might be something that would work. We've done that with other schools. And I will say our health positions are not posted yet, but they're coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, Rama, the way that you kind of position your question, I know here at the Mark School, we have like if a student completes a internship or secures an internship and needs to have it for a specific class, there is a form that goes alongside with it. But then again, that is very specific to your program. So you would sort of be doing that in between both as well. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go through the questions again. So I'm going to do another combo. Do you consider graduate students who have recently graduated and looking to pivot careers? Do internships ever transition to full-time opportunities, or would you recommend applying to full-time roles directly? Sorry, I had to mute somebody. There's just a little bit of feedback, but we'll get to you. If you can please raise your hand.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, that's something, those are 2 points that I wanted to address that I forgot. So thank you. For the program, we will not consider students that have graduated or like May 2025 grads. You have to be actively part of a graduate program while you're in our program. So I think that answers one question. And then in terms of full-time opportunities, so our program is not necessarily a pipeline to full-time employment. I've worked prior to coming to Foundation, I worked at financial firms, consulting firms, and part of, I did the same thing there. I ran internship programs in college recruiting, and I basically, my mandate was kind of to turn 70% of the program to full-time hires. That is not what we do here. And it's not that we don't want to hire our summer associates. Everybody loves our summer associates, but the hiring here is just much different because of the work that we're doing. So we hire on an as-needed basis. So when the program ends in August, we don't know what our hiring needs are going to be in May of the following year. So what I do, a couple things. I mean, I keep in touch with all of our program alumni. I've set up a program alumni group on LinkedIn so we can connect and stay connected. Certainly, sometimes we have hired our summer associates if timing works out. It's just a matter of if the right opportunity is available when you're going to be looking for a full-time role. I would, for anybody on this call now, that is, just keep looking at our website. I mean, as positions become available, they're posted immediately on our website. Connect with us on LinkedIn. We post positions on LinkedIn. We have recently been hiring, more, I'm saying junior level staff, not meaning, students that are just coming out of graduate programs. Associates, senior associates. We have been looking for that level recently for a few positions, and I think there's still some posted. So just keep an eye out on our website. If you do come through the program and like I said, we'll connect on LinkedIn. You'll be part of our alumni, and we'll stay connected. We find that many of our summer associates end up working with organizations that we're strategic partners with, or that were are grantees of ours. There's a lot of connections, and sometimes somebody will, go through the program and then 2 years later will, apply for a full-time opportunity here, and that'll work out. So you never know, but we'll definitely, stay connected and just keep an eye on our website, our careers website, and social media.
Great, thank you so much. I'm going to return to the questions that I've been getting through the chat. But Pankaj, I know you had something that you want to unmute.
Yeah. Hi. Hi. So I just wanted to ask, What's the hiring process like? Like, how many rounds do you conduct, and what's the timeline of your hiring process for the 2025 internships?
Sure. So I do all of the initial interviewing. So I mean, we have 22 roles, so I go through each one. So the positions, well, there's no deadline to apply. The positions will be taken down when they're filled, essentially. So, there are 14 up now, and we're, just started interviewing. So I do an initial interview, and then we'll make recommendations to the hiring manager for, a group of maybe 4 to 6 finalists for the role. And then we try to keep it as streamlined as possible for the, summer role. So the recommendation from me to the teams is that, the hiring manager and then maybe 1 or 2 other people from the team will do interviews, and then we'll make a hiring decision. Some teams follow that. Some teams do a little bit more than that. So it's not necessarily the same process for each team.
Okay.
But we do try to streamline it as much as possible, but I have to take on one role at a time. So, some of the roles I'm interviewing for now, but some I won't be interviewing for until, February or March.
Understood.
So it's
No,
just yeah.
I was a bit curious because I seen these roles come up way too early. I think early Jan, and I've already applied, and like I was just curious as to when you were gonna start interviewing.
Yeah, you haven't missed anything yet, so don't worry. We are reviewing resumes. I mean, last year we got 13,000 resumes for, 21 positions. So it's a lot of resumes, a lot of resume reviewing. And, but if you are selected for, a screening, you'll receive an email from me to set up a phone interview.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Amy. This has been really helpful.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you so much for applying.
Great. So one question came in asking about what are the different health. Wait, let me see if I can find it again. Sorry. Oh, there are certain areas of health the foundation is more interested in? If yes, which? But Amy, I'm actually going to rephrase that question for you. What are some of the projects that have stood out to you, I guess, within the last summer associates session? Because I know the projects seem to change every year depending on the department.
Yeah, I mean, there's projects are so different depending on the team, and let me think of some of the ones that a lot of our projects this year were climate based. Kind of one of our initiatives has been to, each team has been trying to strategically determine is kind of infused into their day-to-day work and ultimately their goals, how climate is going to be infused. So a lot of the interns this year kind of worked on some of that strategic work. The health interns were focused on determining the impacts of climate on health. There's been many currently throughout the globe, doing research on that, researching strategic partnerships with other organizations that can help us with that work. So a lot of the work is driven, research driven or working on strategic partnerships. We had another project that was, part of our work is, how do we, as we're doing this work, how do we analyze, kind of what's working and what's not working. So we do, a lot of different surveys and, gathering of data. We have an annual impact report that goes out, and one of our summer associates was basically tasked with, the release of that information, releasing the annual impact report. She conducted this, social media rollout of that, and then kind of also she developed the messaging, and then she also analyzed kind of how that rollout went and the impact of that communication strategy. So there's so many different projects, but again, a lot of them, and I think this year too, will be focused on kind of how our climate strategy intertwines with our all of our work.
Great. I'm going to do one more question in the chat, and then Jason, I see your hand. So Annie asked, regarding the student status question, what if you're not currently enrolled, but plan to be in a PhD program starting in the fall? Would you be eligible for this summer?
Actually, we have had students that are, yes, I think the answer to that is yes. We have had students before, like, for example, students that have just graduated in May and then they're enrolled in a program come, September. So yes, we do hire students that are in that situation, as long as you're either in a program or going into a program. It's just that if you've completed your program, we're not looking for students that are completing have already completed the program.
Great. Jason, go ahead.
Thank you, Samantha, and thank you, Amy. I have two questions. The first question is, Amy, could you possibly talk a little bit more about the pro dev and learning opportunities that you have throughout the summer, just for summer associates, the things that people might be learning, skills that they might be focusing on, and things like that. And then secondly, for comms and operations focused roles, would those be would people who fill those roles be hired to work in a specific department, or are those roles that are more institution wide and you work across departments on those types of projects?
Sure. No, two great questions. So the learning program is, there's kind of multiple facets. The one part is we kind of front load these sessions, and most of them happen the first week. We have our orientation program, but then we have each team at the foundation will do a session with our summer associates, so that you hear from the food team, you hear from the health team, you hear from the power team, you hear from the innovative finance team. So you get an introduction to all of our work. So as you go into your roles and you take on your day-to-day work, you have that context of understanding what we do to help you. So that's one part of our learning program. The second part is we do have some professional development. My colleague in HR, who focuses on learning and development, usually does some sessions with our summer associates. So things like leadership skills. One of the sessions that he does sometimes is helping you to figure out, how do you leverage kind of what you've learned over the summer to take that with you to, on your career path. How do you leverage the skills and kind of represent the skills that you've gained at the foundation and use that to help you, in your next step of career. So things like that, those kinds of professional development sessions. We also do some meet and greets, mostly, with our leadership team. Last summer we had a meet and greet with our president, our COO, so you can hear directly from them, kind of their strategic mission, how they execute on that, and just kind of learn, you see the day-to-day and you see how your team operates, but kind of learn from the top level how they make decisions and how they operate. We do, the other thing is, part of the program sometimes, not always, but sometimes there's the opportunity for the cohort. You're all kind of focused on your day-to-day work, but sometimes there's an opportunity for the cohort to come together and work on a project that's relevant to the work that we're doing. For example, I mentioned that we've been on this journey of climate learning 2 summers ago, the cohort came together to create a panel discussion of global youth leaders in the climate space. And it was kind of, we hadn't heard from the youth voice yet. And it was really impactful. It was a wonderful learning experience for all of us. And the summer associates moderated it, and they created the whole session. They used their connections. They all came from different schools, different networks of people, different colleagues, and different connections that they had. And they cultivated the panel from their connections and led the whole discussion. And that was, a really wonderful thing for the cohort to come together to do. And it was a, impactful learning experience for our whole staff. So sometimes there's opportunities to do things like that as well. And also, the networking, I think, is part of our how I view kind of your learning progression at the foundation. You're encouraged to network, of course. And then the second question, the operations and communications roles are specific. They're not, you're not really working across teams. They're specific. For example, on our communications team, one of the roles is a digital communications role. One of the roles is a role working with media relations. And then the other role is more of a strategic communications role, like working with the president's office and on more strategic communications. And the operations roles are, there's a role in HR, there's a role in finance, there's a role on our diversity, equity, and inclusion team, and then there's a role that sits with our COO in the office of the COO. That's kind of a general operations role, but none of them cross over multiple teams. You're hired for a specific team to focus on that work.
Great.
Thank you
Thank you.
very much.
Awesome. All right. So I see there are 2 hands up. I do want to get to one question in the chat, then I'll go look over to you two that have your hands up. So Amy, you did mention that there is a phone interview process. Are any during this time, are any of the interviews in person or remote? Are there several rounds of interviews? What can applicants expect?
We've most of the teams for this program we've been doing. I'll do an initial phone interview, and then the subsequent interviews are via Zoom. Even though you're located in New York, it seems to work better for the program. It's easier to schedule, quicker to schedule for everybody. That's not to say that, there are a couple of positions where the teams are specifically hiring a student that can work hybrid. If they may decide, if somebody's in New York, they may decide they want to do an in-person interview, but for the most part, it'll be phone and Zoom. And in terms of rounds, again, I'll have the initial phone screen, and then I pass it over to the team. I recommend that they keep it to 2 or 3 interviews. Most of the teams do that. So it's not a long drawn out process. Some teams are a little bit more, some teams a little bit less. But we try to streamline it and make the process, as painless as possible.
Absolutely. All right, Dev, go ahead.
Hey, first of all, thank you so much for this lovely information. So I just coming back to the hiring process. I just wanted to know, I saw this opportunity way back in December of second or third week through my university job posting. So I just wanted to know, is it the hiring process will be on rolling basis, or it's not like that?
Yeah, it's on a rolling basis. We did post some positions in December, but we have not actually conducted interviews yet. I will start interviews this week.
Right.
And as positions are filled, they'll come off our careers website.
Sure.
But don't be scared away if it says it's been posted for 30 days. We may still be looking through those resumes.
All righty.
And
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Great.
thank you so much.
Oh, Doyeon? Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right.
That was perfect. Thank you. Yes, my name is Doyan, and I'm currently studying Masters in Real Estate at Borough College. And I am interested in innovative finance team with specific interest in Zero Gap Fund. May I know how the team is structured and which other teams or departments, both internally and externally, innovative finance team work closely with?
Yeah, well, the innovative finance team is one of the teams at the foundation that works across all of all of the foundations, because they're working with each team to try to determine ways that, strategic alliances and partners can drive private capital to the for social good, essentially. For our mission critical work, they're trying to figure out how that can be funded. Zero Gap Fund is, one of those initiatives. But they work across all of our teams. They have projects with all of our teams.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Great. All right. We have a couple minutes left, so I'm going to try and combine as many questions as I can together. So I'm going to try and combine the one from Henry and Claudia. So Henry is asking, how important is it to have relevant professional experience? And I guess that's outside of like graduate school work. Do you consider LinkedIn profiles for an application? Along with the professional experience, would you say that the associate roles are suitable for graduate students who are coming back a little bit more mid-career? So let's say like someone with 10 years of experience to apply for these positions.
Okay, so first I'll tackle the relevant experience. It's hard to. I don't know. It's hard to say what relevant experience is, because we do consider so many different backgrounds. So I don't know, using that word may be different for different positions. I mean, we've hired people that come from, an academic background, people that come from a consulting background, people that come from a finance background, people that come from government, people that come from other nonprofits, teaching, so I think the important thing is to try to show how, if you haven't worked directly in this space, I guess, depending on what the job is. I mean, if obviously a communications role is going to require different experience than a role, from our president's office. But it's how you kind of package yourself and how you show whatever skills you've gained from academics or from other jobs that you've had, how those skills are transferable. So we're really not looking for any one kind of cookie cutter. Some positions may be looking for a specific qualification or a specific skill. But in general, we're looking for people that are, passionate about our mission, that are, have some sort of, connection with our mission, but and can solve problems. And then in terms of somebody making a careers, kind of where they are on their, that's hard to answer as well. I mean, I think it depends, what those 10 years, what somebody was doing. I mean, if it's directly related, if they've been doing kind of this work, that might be, that might be a lot. It might be kind of, not the right fit. But if somebody was doing something else for 10 years and they're making a career shift into this space, so there's still a lot of learning and development that they need to do, that would make sense, I think. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. Great. All right, we got last two questions here. So you did mention, with the foundation, you work through administering grants. Is there any specific department or specific position that has to do with grant administration, I guess, for the foundation as a whole, or does that fall within the different departments that are looking for associates?
Well, we do have a grants, a grant department that kind of administers, keeps track of and administers all of our work, but there are folks in the different programmatic areas that focus on analyzing grants and working with grants as well.
Okay, great. And then just curious about the pool last summer. Did you have any CUNY summer associates for last year's pool?
Last year we did not.
Okay, so we're hoping to get some
Hoping
on
we
this
are,
year.
yep. We did the last couple of years, the 22, 23, we did. 24, we did not. So I'm very hopeful for this year.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, I would very much encourage everyone on this call to correspond with, your career services departments and really even making that connection to your own graduate programs as to why this would be a really strong fit or why you would be a strong fit for any of these associate positions. All right. So we have 2 minutes left, and I do want Amy, any last words, any words of encouragement for our potential applicants here?
Just, like I said, to strengthen your application, make those, personal connections to the mission, make sure you're, really highlighting how your skills are a good match for the position that you're seeking. And I thank you again for joining. I really appreciate your interest in working with us, and I look forward to reviewing your applications. And I wish you lots of luck on this journey, whether it's with us or somebody else. I wish you lots of good luck this year.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy. Everyone, please help me in thanking Amy for today's session. A follow-up of today's recording will be sent out shortly by the end of this week. And we look forward to seeing you all at future events this semester. Best of luck, everyone. Thank you. Awesome.